This is my 5th episode of the Playboy Mysteries. This is where I talk about Playboy bunnies, models, playmates, anybody that was associated with Playboy that would be a mystery. So, if you heard about Star Stowe, you do know that she did get murdered in March 16th, 1997. Now, I stumbled upon something very random at 5 a.m. and I was looking at a Howard Stern clip on YouTube, and it's called Radio Host Realized He is Talking to a Serial Killer. So I looked at the date of when Howard Stern got the phone call. He got it in August of 1997. Now, if you go back to the Howard Stern clip and if you do listen to the full audio, you do realize there's this whole freaking psychopath just giving a rundown of all his sick, twisted fantasies of what he likes to do to prostitutes. So, Star Stowe was mentioned in quite a few articles that she was a prostitute. And I did look into some of the information on the guy that did call into Howard Stern. And it is very interesting because the more I dug, the more I found. And this is all just speculation, in my opinion, because the guy goes by Clay, but the person they found out to be was Russell Elwood. And I found out Russell Elwood lived in Florida in 1997. And I thought that was a very interesting piece, if you ask me, because it looks like from the time he was living in Florida in 1997, he did get arrested in Florida in 1997. And I'm going to read the article. It says, on August 4th, 1997, just days after the interrogations were completed, Elwood was arrested for buying cocaine from an undercover police officer at his home in Sebring, Florida. So I did the calculations of Sebring, Florida to where Star Stowe was found, and she was found in Coral Springs, Florida. And if you do the calculations, they are only 163 miles away from each other from where he got arrested, and he could have been very well living in Florida months before, because it looks like it is about 2.5 hours from Sebring to Coral Springs. And what I think is interesting about this is because he got arrested in Sebring, Florida in 1997, and it's about 2.5 hours drive away from my calculations on this map here. And I think that's what a psychopath or killer would do, is do it about that kind of proximity, if you will, like outside of their town, not being too close to their victims that they have killed. Now, I did do some research, as I said, on this guy, and it does appear that he has passed on. And I'm trying to find the date of when he did pass on, but he did pass on very much, well, I would like to say he passed on about a couple decades later after all of this. Russell Elwood was in Florida at the time in 1997, and he was known for targeting prostitutes and killing them. And if you listen to the Howard Stern clip very closely here, this is what makes me believe it might possibly be him, because he's being very loose with his words with Howard Stern and the other radio host with him. And if this was Russell Elwood that did call into the Howard Stern show on August 1997, Howard Stern asked him, when's the last time you killed somebody? He says, not quite a year, but almost a year. And Star Stowe died about 5 months before this phone call conversation took place. So that was almost a year. And in this Howard Stern audio clip of this serial killer, he's telling Howard he only strangled one person out of all his victims that were prostitutes. And I do believe, don't quote me on this, but he did say he just dumped her off somewhere behind a building, like a dumpster type. And I do believe, from what Star Stowe, I see all the articles here. This is why I'm doing the audio today, because I did not want to bore you guys with me looking in and out on my computer. But I do see Star Stowe did die uh, well, a couple months before all of this happened. So, and he really said quite a bit on the Howard Stern phone call if you do go back and listen. And it looks like Russell Elwood, his background of what he used to do, former freelance photographer, you know, that sounds like anybody nowadays. He was a taxi cab driver, numerous other unspecified jobs. So the taxi cab driver on his occupation is kind of raising an eyebrow to me, because he would know how to get from point A to point B, kind of know all these ins and outs of small little alleyways, if you will. And he did mention on the Howard Stern show that he did dump her off somewhere, and he only strangled only one of his victims. And Star Stowe, I do believe, did get strangled. And what an odd coincidence, because when I was looking at my YouTube one day just to see how my Z-list views were doing, and I go, well, it's almost 7 days, and I just ran on that Howard Stern frenzy I went on. I was going, well, let's look at all the clips here, the information, and he called himself Clay, clearly to disguise himself and identity at the time, because this is 1997, and Russell did go to jail in 1998, and I am looking at the date of death here, it was in the year 2014. So, if you really, and he says he killed about 1 to 16 victims in his profile here. And on the Howard Stern show, he says he killed about 12 or so, I do believe. But if you really do look at it, he has a very big history of targeting prostitutes and killing them, and is pretty much self-admitting it on the Howard Stern show. Again, he was in Florida in 1997 at the time, so that really makes me raise an eyebrow if you look at it. And like I said, he died in 2014, so there's really no way to ask him or get him to confess. And I think this guy did get charged for multiple killings of prostitutes, because if you do look back at the Howard Stern show with this guy, a serial killer called in and basically said he's only strangled one of his victims and threw them behind a place somewhere. And Sebring to Coral Springs, Florida is like a 2.5 hour drive, and he's a cab driver, so I'd like to think he would know how to get in and out sneaky wise, you know what I mean? Because he's a cab driver. I'm sure he's been to many shady places. I'm just assuming he would not want to get too close to his victims, and it's about 2.5 hours. So he did get arrested in Sebring, and it was a couple of months before Star Stowe died, and we have to really look at the time frame and his background. It would make the most sense to me. I was kind of baffled when I did the research, because it did sound like he did go to Louisiana later on and kill. So, but he was in the Florida area around that time, and I can't really confirm to say if he was in the area of Star Stowe's death, but I'm assuming he might have been. How do I say this? I don't know. I think he might have been living in Florida for quite some time. I'm just getting a little slow and tongue-tied for words here, because I'm trying to look at this and give the information as I see it, because I have dug for quite a bit of research on him, and he was arrested in Florida, so in 1997. So the Howard Stern clip happened in August 1997, and her death happened 5 months prior to that, and he said it had been almost a year since he had killed. Now, he called himself Clay, as I said, and there is really no way to prove this now, but by only one theory I can come up with, if we can try to figure if Russell Elwood killed Star Stowe. Now, I'm assuming with his crimes and everything like that, there's some kind of DNA attached on file somewhere, and maybe to find out maybe if Russell Elwood did kill Star Stowe, maybe examine her DNA at the time of her death and see if it would match Russell Elwood, because it is very odd some of the shenanigans this lunatic was up to. I mean, he's got charged for multiple drugs, multiple killings of prostitutes. It says about 26 prostitutes spanning from 1991 to 1996. And I think he did get caught and thrown in jail for a lot of crimes in total in 1998. So I am reading this article. I do believe it says this act would be the factor to his arrest in 1997, 2 years after a task force investigating New Orleans killings was informed. Said task force classified Elwood as a suspect. I do believe this guy could have done it, because it said on August 4th, 1997, he was arrested in Florida on drug charges, which is kind of pretty close in time frame to when Star Stowe died, because if you really look at Star Stowe, this happened in August 4th, 1997, when he got arrested in Florida for drugs, and Star Stowe died on March 16th, 1997. So that's not too far in time frame, if you ask me. I would find him, in my opinion, to be the biggest suspect, because August 4th he got arrested in Florida, 1997. That is some wild shit when you think about it, because it looked like he lived there for quite some time. So only 4 months later, if this is the guy that did it, he did kill. If he did kill, it would have been March 16th, I got tongue-tied there again, but he did seem to be kind of a prime suspect, in my opinion. She was 40 years old at the time and was discovered in the bushes behind a pharmacy. So I'm not too sure what the other prime suspects on Star Stowe's murderers are, but I did read somewhere at one point that because there was a theory she was a prostitute, as we know, there was a theory that she had a pimp and that maybe he was one of the main suspects. But I do believe, don't quote me on this, that he did get cleared. But I'm more so looking at this Howard Stern caller that called in and just randomly talked to him about all these prostitutes he was targeting and killing. But you got to remember, what leads me to believe he said he only strangled and killed one by strangulation, because he did admit most of his crimes by using a hammer. And he also mentioned, like I said, that it had been almost a year since he last killed, and the time frame would have been Star Stowe would have been the last person he potentially could have killed. I guess you could always re-examine his DNA again and see if it matches hers, because that would be the only way to narrow it down if this is him, because I would like to think, like, holy crap, like, look what a main suspect that would be. And I do believe it was meant to be that I did this subject piece, because I do believe, I said in my last video, I would not be doing my Playboy Mysteries videos as often, and I would take a break on it. But I was looking at my page one day going, it's a weekly show, and I just stumbled upon this Howard Stern info, and I was having a bit of trouble sleeping because I had some great tasting energy drinks in me, and once I have those in me, I just started looking into more research, and the more I dug on this guy, the more I found. And I would like to think that this Russell character is probably a main suspect, and the only way is to examine his DNA and see if it matches the one, if there is any, on Star Stowe's body. That would be my recommendation, and if that is not him, then we would have to rule him out as a suspect. But isn't it funny, most of these crimes go on, and most of them aren't solved, some of these Playboy models, and of course, some of these people get older and they die, and he did die in jail, if this is the guy that did it. I mean, it was only 2 hours away from where he got arrested in Florida in 1997 over Star Stowe's death. He was very much known for targeting prostitutes, so that would be one of my prime suspects, and I'm hoping anybody out there listens maybe passes this information along to the right person. Or I do believe Star Stowe's son is still alive, so maybe he could pass this information along and ask the DNA to be re-examined in those aspects, because what a wild thing. And maybe it was meant to be that guy called into Howard Stern, and here we are. I'm talking about it. And if everything I'm saying in this could potentially be true, it would be nice if maybe Star Stowe's son bought a keychain in this. My justafrenzy.com website. I hate to plug it, but that's what I gotta do to keep the electricity on. Just kidding, guys. But I do genuinely enjoy solving these crimes, because, and I'm not saying every topic on this page on my YouTube are crimes I'm solving. Most of these ones are opinions, but I would like to say this one I'm solving right now because, well, I'm just kidding. I can't say I'm solving it right now, but if you do look at all of the point factors here, from the Howard Stern conversation, the date he got the call, to this guy getting arrested in Florida, I would like to think he's a prime suspect. And if he's not, then I guess you would have to maybe look into seeing if she did have a pimp, and maybe re-examine him. If this is not the guy that did it, this Russell character, I would not know who else would maybe do it, because this Russell character, man, he had a huge reputation of targeting prostitutes. And the Howard Stern one really made me just raise an eyebrow when he said he only strangled one victim, and it was almost a year ago, right around the time Star Stowe died. And I'm not too sure how nobody else has really figured this out, or maybe, I'm not saying I figured it out by any means. I'm just giving speculation and opinions in all of this video, allegedly, if I have to say it like that, because it really is just a conspiracy theory and something I'm just really researching and examining and looking at all the details. And I would like to think, in my opinion, everything I've talked about in this video from start to finish is just an opinion piece, like always on all my videos. But I would like to think I maybe potentially perhaps solved this crime, because you've really got to go and Google all of this stuff. Go take a minute, if you haven't already, to listen to the Howard Stern serial killer giving him a call into his studio, and they aired on the radio. That was in 1997. So I would like to think I did some good by staying up one day and saying, hey, I was going to do a break on my Playboy Mysteries, but after this, I'm not too sure. And of course, going into these Playboy Mysteries like I do, I would like to say, because I did somewhat F up my sentence before, I'm not saying all my YouTube videos, these are all crimes, but this one, I'm taking that back. This one is a crime, a real-life murder, as we know. And I would like to think I could have potentially solved this one. Fucking crazy, man. When you really think about it, it's been in front of our eyes, if this is the case, the whole time. So go watch the Howard Stern one. The serial killer calls him in. They ask him all sorts of questions on the show. And you go research Star Stowe's death. This guy Russell's name, I've mentioned him a couple times. And you look at his track record, it's all starting to add up. And the fact that he was a taxi driver really does make me think this could be him, because he really would know how to get from point A to point B and not really be known. You know what I mean? Like, no shortcuts, places that are more private, kind of like that, I would like to think. And I don't know, what a weird thing to stumble upon, because after I've done all these researches on such a variety of Playboy topics, I did stumble on some more information on some other playmates that I just think made me raise an eyebrow as well. And I'll get into that another time. Just when I thought I was going to stop doing these Playboy Mysteries, the more I research and find other models I see, and well, these subjects aren't really talked about. And before I go, guys, if you enjoyed this video, go get a keychain at justafrenzy.com. I now also do got a new store, payhip.com/justafrenzy. And it would really mean a lot if you got something at either one of the stores. And I will be doing a Sunday Funday book review on Crystal Hefner's Gab Fest of her Only Say Good Things. And before I leave this whole audio unofficial YouTube podcast, I am going to be in the movie Killcast, which is a horror movie thriller type, and it's by SRS Cinema. And if you're interested to know, I do play a podcaster in it, and it's a funny character I made. I made up all these lines on the spot, and it was mostly improv I did. And for that movie, it's a horror movie called Killcast by SRS Cinema. I would like for you guys to check it out when it does come out. I don't know the official release date, but it will be on all sorts of streaming sites. And just Google the word Killcast movie and keep up with it every couple of weeks and see when it comes out. And I really hope I did some good with this. I would like to think I was very thorough and detailed with my investigation here, and hopefully you guys had fun listening to my Gab Fest and maybe my clues. Maybe they are right. Maybe I put all these puzzle pieces together and Star Stowe's death could be solved or could not be solved. Like I said, they would have to re-examine Russell's DNA to see if it matches any on Star Stowe's body to see, and if that is not him with the DNA, then I suggest the family to keep looking for the serial killer. But this guy seems like a prime suspect, in my opinion. So tune in to next time. This is going to be good, the next one. You thought this one was wild, but I have another good one coming. So thank you for tuning in. And catch me on my next Playboy Mysteries. There was another model that died in a car crash in the 60s related to Playboy. And we'll maybe dive into that, or we maybe not. Who knows? But the Sunday Funday review, I'm definitely looking forward to just giving my thoughts on Crystal's Gab Fest, because I did listen to the audiobook, and I'm going to give a review on that one, and I'm going to mesh it with another review. I wanted to let you know, since I'm plugging everything here, I'm doing a thriller book review in the same video. So subscribe, comment, and let me know what you think of this. If you've done the research while you've been listening, I'd really like to know your thoughts, and hopefully Star Stowe's son, who appears to still be alive, can maybe ask the people that are investigating this to re-examine Russell's DNA. So I hope you had fun listening to me, and I hope to get into the 60s Playboy model car crash soon. So anyways, check out Killcast when it does come out by SRS. And don't you think this is crazy? This could be a potential. Thank you for listening, and I'll gab another time.